Hi, welcome to this video. I'm going to be talking about in this video, you are not your thoughts. And this is going along with an email that I sent that explains the context. And essentially, it is that we're dealing with the four key stressors. And the key stressor I'm going to be presenting in this video is on the mental emotional of the four. So let's begin with you are not your thoughts. And what I mean by that, you literally are not your thoughts. So your thoughts are things, thoughts are electromagnetic energy that your brain is interpreting, but it doesn't really define the essence of who you really are. But we think it does. We think we are our thoughts. And unfortunately, many, if not most of us humans, tend to think less of ourselves than we really are. I mean, we're perfect, whole, and complete just the way we are as ourselves, meaning that doesn't mean that you don't have room to grow and expand in your awareness. I'm just saying you're perfectly you. And what we're doing is comparing ourselves to everybody else, and we have these issues around who we think we are and who we think we are. So who do you think you are? Okay? Because who you think you are will ultimately determine what you can be, do, or have. Now, in the context of stress, I want to just make this a short video and just talk about how does the mental and emotional aspects of the four key stressors cause stress. Okay, we think of stress usually as anxiety or feeling overwhelmed or what we're thinking, and that's one of the four key stressors. But you have to remember the other three certainly has to do with your sugar control, has to do with your sleep, has to do with how much inflammation is in your body and what's causing all that. And again, bringing it home, I'm talking about mental emotional right now. So that means we have to talk about the brain. So our brain, think of it as a computer, or that the computers were modeled after your brain, literally. You have a hard drive, you have a RAM, you have a cloud, so to speak. And what I mean by that, hard drive, just think of your subconscious mind, your deep memories that go back from the time, who knows, okay? Think of the RAM as a short-term conscious memory, what you um, are aware of, okay? And then think of the cloud as like those thoughts swirling around, and that you might be even picking up from others. Meaning, our right brain has this capacity to feel into the energies around us, like it would protect us. Let's say, given if I talk about that lion ideal, the lion chasing you, causing fight, flight, freeze. Well, if you were in the Sahara, or you were in the jungle or whatever, you might have a feeling, something's wrong here. And there could be a lion lurking about in the bushes, hasn't even jumped out yet, but you have a feeling something's wrong. That's intuitive. And that's coming from this right side of your brain. So the mind and the brain are not the same. The brain is the physical organ, the mind is the field of energy and information all around us. And we're picking it up. Some people are more sensitive than others, or it's not even just more sensitive than others. Sometimes we're so in our left brain stuck logic, we will deny our intuition and think, that's silly. I don't know why I'm thinking there's a lion in the bush. And then next thing you know, we're their dinner. Okay, so our intuition matters, especially nowadays. All this fake news running around, or real news, however you want to call it, but I don't believe a lot of it, frankly. So the whole point is that you have to discern what you really believe based on your education, your knowledge, your intuitive knowing, and more we need to trust that. Well, how does this tie into stress? Well, once you realize that our brain is um, full of these different thoughts or beliefs. Beliefs are not quite the same as thought, because a belief, you really feel it. It's like real to you. And we're walking around with these beliefs like they're software programs of our mind that were programmed when we were often little kids, or for some people, it might have been a few years ago. But the point is, we see our reality through our beliefs. And that's going to take us to the second category of this point of this video is perception, because what causes stress from a mental, emotional standpoint is your perception. And perception is how you perceive the world around you relative to yourself, how you're programmed about, am I okay compared to that person? Whereas I started this whole video saying, you are perfect and complete and whole as you, just the way you are. And then all of these experiences which come through our um, mind, our thoughts, um, in neuroscience, it would be called autobiographical memory, the story of who you think you are, which could be, you can think of it as your ego. Ego is I in Latin, but it's the I that you think you are and the experiences that you're having. It's not really who you are at your core, your essence, your big S self, okay? The real you, so to speak. And so that real you is all about that conscious awareness you that is noticing thoughts, that is perceiving the world as such and such, and watching your life happen, so to speak. And part of the spiritual path and the expansion of self-awareness is recognizing that there's the spiritual you that is the real you, and then there's the human egoic part that is experiencing this earth in 3D. Okay, so now perception. Come back to that. I talked about the outline of our brain and mind as a computer and using that model to think about things. Perception is formed through your beliefs of how you see the world, how you've taken those thoughts and feelings, put them together, formed this autobiographical memory of how you think life is. That's just the way life is, according to you, because it's not the same as life is according to me. So when we have these different perceptions, it's running our life. And then that perception can even determine our self-identity of who we think we are. Well, with stress, the more we think we are not enough, we are not good enough, we are not safe, we are not loved, we're not lovable, we can't do, be, or have something, the more insecure we are around those things, the more easily stressed we become in a given situation, potentially, because we don't feel safe and we are thinking less of ourselves. If we think less of ourselves, we're going to not take as good care of ourselves. We're going to overdo it. We're going to run ourselves through the floor trying to prove something because we want to show the world we are good enough. We are enough. And I know this from personal experience, period. This has been the story of my journey on figuring this stuff out for myself because I was tired of suffering, for one thing. And thank goodness I have certainly enough of these key secrets to the universe that I'm not suffering anymore. And so I'm sharing this because, yes, I have a background in neuroscience. I do understand, the science pieces, and we also need to understand like what resonates in the intuitive pieces and bring it together in practical life. Well, to the degree you can work on your belief systems and your thoughts and your feelings, and being aware that the media or other voices out there are throwing thoughts in your head that are frightening you, that are causing you stress, that are causing you to feel inadequate, unsafe, or whatever. And it's not even that they're really things to be upset about per se, but the story, the perception, the meaning you are assigning can rev you up. So when I hear something coming across the media, and many times, especially in this realm of health, I know they're not telling the truth. Okay. So of course it's easier for me to say, are you kidding me? However, question things because there is so much misinformation running around in the world today that's frightening people and keeping them stressed out. And if you're stressed out, you can't think right. stressed out, you're going to get sick. You're going to end up in that disease care system. So your identity, your self-identity is number one key here to a great extent. If you have a not enoughness self-identity, that's something you want to strategically work on in understanding how the mind and thoughts and perception works. Okay, the third piece of this perception. So we said there's perception. Okay, then what perception is, and then how perception affects our identity. If we think we're not enough based on our stories of how we see the world, how we see ourselves, what we've programmed into that hard drive of our brain, so to speak, that's sitting there on the hard drive that we may need to hit delete or certainly update the software program. Even if you don't never forget a memory, you can delete the emotional pull of that memory when you know how. And so this last piece here, I want to talk about are those feelings, emotions, energy in motion, emotion. And to the degree that you are afraid of your feelings, and I was terrified at one time, so I know what a prison it can be like. You cannot really feel joy, love, peace, gratitude, because you're so locked down with fear. And the media does that to the masses every day. Fear this, fear this. What a horrible world we live in. They don't show you the balance. They don't show you that good things happen that day. So many people feel like they're walking around in a battle zone in their lives, all tight and revving up their stress hormone just out the gate when they wake up in the morning and go out to fight the world. Okay, that's a perception, and those are heavy feelings. And we don't know how to get out from under those feelings because we see our feelings as enemies. We are afraid of our feelings. There is a process you can go take yourself through, helping your left brain to understand, but also engaging your right brain so that you can, what I call, and have been calling for 15 years or more here, making friends with your feelings. When you can make friends with your feelings, then they don't angst you so much. You don't get so jerked so quickly into fear. And you have a moment in space where you can make a decision. Do I really believe this or not? Or, instead of just this automatic knee jerk that the media and the internet can use to just set you off and trigger you. And it's a process. You grow. It doesn't mean you'll never stumble. Maybe one day you're tired, you're fatigued. So all of a sudden you're triggered again. Well, when you have skill sets, you can actually stop that triggering in its tracks, or at least you can be aware and say, nope, and then you start to also look at life like, what can I learn from this situation? Instead of it being a judgment about yourself or causing you to judge and fight other people all the time. Okay, so now, last piece. I mentioned in the email about 4 aspects of this perception. Perception, again, is how something appears to you through your eyes, through your experience, through your interpretation, through your beliefs, but it's not objective. It's subjective. That's what perception is. Okay, so these 4 categories of underperception, how does it affect stress? All right, so uncertainty is one of those. It's 4. Uncertainty, number 1. When we get in situations that are not predictable to us, they're new, they're foreign. Oh no, here's this, this health situation running around. What does it mean? What does it mean? Well, depending on your background, depending on your beliefs, depending on whether you really believe the source or not, depending on if you're going to go do your homework and just not be gullible and swallow it down like a baby bird taking in a worm. Okay, so if you question, that's going to affect the situation than if you don't question. And now it's totally out of control, uncertain. Oh my God, oh my God. Well, it's a spectrum as to how people respond to uncertainty. So uncertainty can rev up some people's stress response more than others. Okay, well, then the next one I would say is talking about threat. Threat to your ego in particular, or to your safety, still the ego, the human, right? And so how you perceive threat can be anything from true threat, like somebody really is, you better get out of there, all right, to just like you're comparing yourself to another woman. Okay, that's an imagined threat. And generally speaking, whatever you tell yourself about your capacity, your enoughness, etc., or even reframe the situation differently, it's going to rev up your adrenaline. It's your adrenal glands, it's cortisol. This is a threat. Or speaking in front of a group, an audience that you don't feel safe, that feels like a threat. Okay, so the point is, it is subjective, and you can learn skills, breathing, tapping, imagination, grounding, that can keep you from feeling so threatened. However, of course, if you really are threatened, really is life threatening, get out of there. That's what the adrenals are for. Okay, so I'm talking about perception, because most of what is killing people around stress is how they are seeing life, and this chronic mental and emotional piece, that their life isn't really under threat. They're just letting the world around them keep them in a blind flurry. Okay, so now the third component to this perception would be uncertainty. Okay, not uncertainty. Well, okay, I said uncertainty. So I'm going to say novelty. Okay, so novelty, something new. If you're in a new situation, you're in a new job, you're in a new environment, you're at a party and there's all new people and you don't know anybody, depending on the story you tell yourself, again, that will affect your response. And so novel situations can trigger perception. Then the last one is loss of control. When you're in a situation where you feel out of control, and some people maybe need to learn how to navigate feeling loss of control sometimes, because they're too busy trying to control other people and it's stressing them out. So these 4 areas, which was uncertainty, I said, and I'll say it back in the order that I explained it to you. So you have uncertainty, threat, novelty, and loss of control. Those keys affect your perception, and that perception affects your stress. So I just wanted to explain more in a video, because you can't say all this in a short little email. It's a new concept for many people, and it's just the tip of the iceberg to a degree. It's not complex, but it is something we have to take the time to learn. I mean, think about it. Arithmetic, learning, reading, all of that seemed hard at first, but it's just, learning how to ride a bike. We have to learn how to optimally operate our brain if we want to stop just allowing any old thing, media, person, whatever, come in and just hijack our thinking and how we feel about ourselves, and what we think we can be, do, or have. That takes a skill to develop that we were never taught. So at this time in your life, if you really want to reclaim your energy, your vitality, you want to be able to take control of the stress and take control of your health, you're going to have to learn how to do it mind, body, emotional, and spiritual, because that really is who you really are, a whole being with those 4 domains that we need to address directly within ourselves. So if you enjoyed this video, you want to learn more, you can visit me at my website, valenciaray.com, and that's Valencia with a V. Okay, thank you for listening.